Is that better, Frank? Can you hear me now? Sound should be back on now. So yeah, as I was saying, this telephone had been converted to a lamp. It had got 240 volts going through the original telephone wiring that had been just moved around and made to come out of a hole that they drilled in the top here, and there's a lamp fitting up here somewhere. So luckily I didn't want to use it as a lamp, so I've put it back to being a telephone gradually, but it's going to need a complete rewire and everything, and a re-blacken as well, because these brass bits should not be brass. They were all blackened in one way or another on the originals, but this is what people used to do. They used to sort of, in the 60s and 70s and maybe into the 80s, when these weren't worth a right lot, people used to polish them up and turn them into table lamps and take the blacking off and make them brassy and that, and of course that brass should be blackened, and I'm trying to find out how it was originally blackened, because I don't think it was done in the way if you look on Google and that now, you find things that say how to blacken brass, and they use like a liquid, like a chemical, to give it an antique look. Well, I don't think it was that was used to do it originally. I think it was something else, because it was a fairly uniform black, and I believe it was shiny as well. A good place to see old telephones, watch the repeats of Dad's Army that come on BBC Two if you want to see some really good old telephones, because the prop department at the BBC in the 60s and 70s had these phones, and 300 series and 200 series, and they were real ones. You know, they weren't like plastic ones made for television. They were real ones, because the old prop department at the BBC back then, I don't know about now, but certainly back then in the 70s and that, they had a massive props department that had genuine old stuff in it. Everything from a telephone to a three-piece suite, and it was all real things, you know, that they had for making their TV shows. So yeah. Christopher 2000 says, I saw a railway signal post telephone that had a GPO handset on it in Australia. Now, were some GPO stuff, did it not get sent out to Australia in, you know, when the GPO finished with it, you know, some old obsolete stuff, did it not get sent over, like tons and tons and tons of it? I imagine that probably happened. I know a lot of the molds and that for making 300 series phones sort of got sent out to India when they didn't want to make 300s in the UK anymore. It's a bit more involved than that, because the actual story involves private companies that were making phones and had divisions in India. So it's a bit more complex than that. But these so-called Indian replica phones of 300 series and that are probably actually made out of the original molds, but it's just that they're made in India today, sort of thing, and say normally India Telephone Industries or ITI or something like that on them. Yeah, and that's why they're such good replicas, some of them, because they're not replicas, they're actually made out of the original molds and bits and things. So yeah, I'm not surprised that you're finding things in Australia, Chris, because I have a feeling stuff has been sent out there. And remember, all these phones and that weren't made by the GPO. They were made by lots and lots of private companies. There were, I think it was 30 odd companies, for instance, that made 746s for the GPO and later for telecom and that. And those private companies had divisions all over the world. So you see like bits of 746s popping up on privately sold telephones that were sold to go on like private systems, like in like big offices and factories and that pop up all over the place. I found a 706 once that seemed to have come from Portugal or something like that, and I'm sure that's something to do with how it happened. So, Chris says, I've seen a picture on the internet of the same phone on British Rail. Right. That's not a wooden phone, is it? That, Chris? No. Is it a plastic one? Is it brown colour and plastic? What sort of age are we talking about? Because here, British Rail used to have a brown plastic push button phone, sort of in the 80s and 90s. Normally with the British Rail double arrow logo sort of embossed on it, the actual British Rail ones. Did they call them Viscounts, those phones? I'm trying to remember if they called them Viscounts. But yeah, that's what happened. They had those. They had those on British Rail. So again, I won't be surprised if your rail operators over there probably didn't have the same thing, because the people that make the phones probably said, well, if it's good enough for British Rail, it's good enough for the Australian rail operators, we'll send a similar thing over. Because of course you had our HSTs as well, didn't you? And you had our trains as well, our version of the HST. And are they still running over there? Have you still got HST? Do you call them X something over there? But they are basically a HST power car. Yeah. Cool. Right, I'm going to put this phone back. It's blooming heavy, this. These were a really good idea, because of course you put them on the desk, and the only bit you had to hold in your hand was this bit, and that's a good idea, because this bit's blooming heavy. So, alright, I'll put it back together and put it back on the windowsill where it was, until I actually get round to rewiring it and getting it working. XPT, he says those trains were called, or what we called a HST here, a high-speed train. Australia called an XPT. What does XPT stand for then? Just because I'm curious, basically. Alright, I'm just moving the cameras and that around. Right, so that is it for this week. That is all the news that I've really got for you this week. But yeah, we're getting rid of the white bloom on this. I'll do a bit more in the week again. I'll do a bit more tinkering with this, but as you can see, if you were watching last week, this looks a hell of a lot better than it did last week. But yeah, we're going to try. One thing we're going to try is acetone polishing with this, with acetone vapor, not with the liquid, but with the vapor. Now, basically how you do that, you need a sealed container where you can put this in, and you basically sit it above a bath of acetone. So in the bottom of your sealed container, you have like some wet paper towels or something that are wet with acetone, not with water. So you make them soggy with acetone. You sit this above them, not in it, above it. So you want you want 3 or 4 plastic, not plastic, maybe wooden would be better, old wooden cotton reels or something to suspend this above it. Then you put the lid on so it's airtight and leave it, and the vapours from the acetone melt it just enough to make it perfectly smooth and mirror finish. And I've seen one that's been done, a topaz yellow one, and you could see your face in it. It was absolutely a mirror finish. I've never tried it, but I'm going to try it. I'm just at the moment looking for something that is totally airtight, that is big enough that I can put one of these cases in, and finding something like that that's not made out of a kind of plastic that the acetone might melt is proving a bit difficult. But I am going to try that and see if we can do that. Yeah, the XPT train, it looks like the HST. Yeah, it does. I think it basically is the HST under a different name. But yeah, but why is it called XPT? Something passenger train? Experimental passenger train? But they weren't experimental, were they? Didn't you have quite a lot of them? Have you still got them over there? We've still got HSTs over here. Not many HSTs now. They've been replaced mainly by something that they call Virgin Voyagers, or some of us call it Virgin Vomiters because they make you sick when you travel on them. Yes, Frank. Yes, the acetone vapor thing. Sorry, I'm looking down here because I'm reading off a screen down here. Yes, Frank. The acetone vapor thing. Yeah, should be very interesting. Like I say, I've seen it done, and it gave an absolutely perfect finish on a topaz yellow one. So we're going to have a go at that and see what happens. I might have to rough a bit of plastic up just to experiment, just a little bit, and just do it in a jam jar. Just rough a bit of plastic up and then see if I can sort it out. Chris says yes, the XPTs still run in Australia. Absolutely excellent. Yeah, that's great. I wish our HSTs did. We didn't have these Virgin Vomiter things. So yeah. Right, that is about a wrap for this week, I do believe. I'm going to go while the getting's good and before the stream cuts out again on me. So until next week, it's just a case of saying thanks for watching. We'll be back here same time, same place, approximately next week, all being well. And who knows, I might have this 200 series phone sort of coming back together. I will almost certainly have more done on this, so it might be shiny by the time you see it next week. Yeah, and who knows what might appear in the post between now and then as well. Just before we go, just a reminder, if you want to get in touch with us, here's the website address again, andyshed.coldpress.net. You can go on there to see back episodes of this live show and also various other videos that we've made as well. And you can also, if you fancy, subscribe to us on Patreon for just $1 or the equivalent of $1 a month. You can get your name on the credits of the shows. It's there, patreon.com/AndyShed, if you want to do that. But as I say, that about wraps it up for this week. Thanks to everybody who's there in the live chat again. Chris and Frank and all the others that are watching out there. We'll see you again same time, same place next week. But from me for now, have a great week ahead. Keep doing your social distancing or whatever it is that we're all supposed to be doing at the minute. I've been out today, and you know something, I don't think anybody was taking any notice of it whatsoever. And if you're watching this on YouTube, go and have a look on Library. If you've not done Library yet, it's lbry.tv. Go to Library and have a look there. And find us on Library, because on Library, just for looking at stuff, they will give you what they call library credits, and then you can tip the video makers with those library credits, so you can actually kind of give a little bit of something to the content creators whose stuff you enjoy, and it won't cost you a penny because they give you the credits for nothing when you join up with Library. lbry.tv, search Andy Shed on there, all lowercase and all one word as well, and you will find us on Library. And I do happen to know there's been a big video about COVID-19 and that this week that contradicted some stuff that some of the governments around the world are saying, and it was 2 doctors in the US that contradicted it, 2 proper doctors that know their stuff. They put a video up on YouTube. I think it was ABC television in America that put the video up. YouTube took the video down, but it's still there on Library because Library works in a different way. Library is what's the word I'm looking for here? It's not open source. Well, it is open source, but it's like a distributed network on Library, so once something's up there it can't be deleted. So go and have a look for that. on Library, on library.tv or lboy.tv. And as I say, have a look for us as well, because you'll find that all the videos that we do on YouTube also get uploaded to Library as well. But that is it for this week. Thanks very much for watching. And Chris says the XPT stopped runs now. It derailed last month. Oh dear. No, that's a shame. Put it back on. Can you put it back on? Yeah, so until next week, thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.